Welcome from my side. I want to talk to you today about decision heuristics, about research that I performed together with my former colleague Nikola Bursac and Narucha Tanaiutchawoot, Professor Albers, also my former colleague now Breitschuh, and Professor Eckert. Now here you already see what was the motivation for our work. Those books, they are about really interesting topics, and I think you probably have heard the name of Mr. Kahneman. He has recently been awarded with the Nobel Prize for his works, and I brought you two examples from that field in which he was working. The first is about the decision that I think we probably all know. If you want to read a newspaper or magazine or something like that, do we buy the print version or do we buy the e-paper? And often to promote the print version, you get a combined offer with the e-paper. And what they did with some of their students, they gave them those two options and tracked how many of the students selected those different options. And in the next step, they added a third option. You pay the same price like for the combined offer, but you only get the printed version. Now, of course, maybe some individuals would choose those options because they can handle electronic stuff in any form, but usually it doesn't really make sense to choose this offer. And that's what they could observe, so nobody chose this option. But interestingly, the other two numbers, they changed drastically. Another example was the description of a student. In the beginning they asked, you have a student, so guess what's his course. And of course the natural approach is to look how many students are in each course at your university, and then you take the option with the highest likelihood. In this example that would have been this field, and then they gave their students a description of this. They are testing students, a description of this person, and they mentioned as well that they can't make any statement how valid this source of information is or how valid this description is. However, it influenced the guesses to which disciplines this person might belong. And of course, there are some cliches in it, some good ones, some that are not that positive for us engineers, and people that, okay, he's probably one of those. So what we learn from that is that decisions can be influenced. They are not always rational. And we then said, wait a minute, we are doing a lot of decisions in product development. And so the question is, do we have such effects there as well? It might be quite important to know that, because in the end we are making money based on the decisions that we make in the process. And so our first step in our research, and that's what I'm presenting here today, is could we reproduce those effects in the field of product development? And of course the second one, this is then more the outlook, how can we handle with this situation? So the first study, we were working on the basis of the idea, if we add another option that's not really favorable, we can change the extent to which two already existing options are selected. Now, of course, we can't go straight to companies and fiddle with their projects because it's about real money. So we turned to our engineering students. The story, there's a small video, is that they are in an innovation workshop. And the topic of the innovation workshop is to develop a new product generation of an apple peeler. I think we will get a better picture right now. Here's how it works. Really nice gimmick. Now the question is, if we want to sell some more apple peelers, make a new product generation that has additional features. What could those additional features be? You see, in the end, you get your apple, it's peeled, it's sliced. It's a really nice thing. And we told them, you are in this situation now. We will give you a couple of ideas, and you have to choose which ideas you like. So, and before we turn to our engineering students, which are a great amount of people, we made some pre-studies. The first pre-study were with some colleagues of ours. Afterwards, we used some student workers of ours, which are from a higher semester. And finally, we turned to our engineering bachelor students. We made 2 groups. In total, it was roughly 480 mails that we sent, and we had 2 different surveys. One with the 2 options, and the other one with the 3 options. And I will show you what the options were. Of course, one idea is you don't want to do it all by yourself, so you put an engine there, and the reasonable idea is to use an electrical engine. However, especially in the course of mechanical engineering, there are quite some motorsport enthusiasts, so we also said we have the option of a gas engine. And probably very practical thing is to put a drip tray under the apple peeler so that you don't have that much cleaning effort. So this is first an overview. How long did they take to answer? What we can see basically from that is that it wasn't very long, so they didn't apply a big method or something, so it was really heuristic decision making. And here we see the result. We see the enthusiasts as predicted, and we see that the other 2 have changed, and it's quite a significant change, and so we can reproduce the effect that an additional idea, even if it doesn't really make sense, can have effect on the rating of other ideas. In the next step, we wanted to investigate this effect of what's called representativeness, so that you basically decide on the amount of information that you are seeing right now at the moment. We did this in a university environment as well. We used students once in a lecture and the other time in a workshop, and we were building up on the persona method. So you give the students a picture of one of the many stakeholders that you have in the product development process, but we didn't really mention how important is this type of stakeholder, and we were interested in, does it have an effect or not? So this was the first setting that we used. It's one of our big product development lectures in the master course, and we have this lecture poll tool where we post the question. 2 different groups, and you see with and without the persona had an effect as well. And we did it in another kind of innovation workshop for master students. Now we showed them 2 different personas. You see, one we called them Natalie Nature. She's very much in being out and going for walks and so on. And we had Belle Baking, which she has a big family, so she has to make a lot of apple pie, and then we said, okay, we find a special solution for that, that's the triple apple peeler. And again, we could observe an effect based on the persona that we showed them. And the people, they weren't questioning how important is this stakeholder for my whole company, or how important is this stakeholder. So it's really just what you see is all there is, I think that's a term that you will find in the books from behavioral economics. So as a conclusion, we could say we can, or first, heuristic decision making reduces errors. I think it's important to point out that we don't want to state that heuristic decision making is bad. It's important and it's done because it's faster and sometimes it's sufficient in some situations. But it can have bad effects, and the challenge is to identify the critical situations and settings where heuristic decision making can have bad effects. We showed in 2 studies that this is possible also in product development, and now of course object of our future work is to find methods to deal with that, and to deal with that without reducing the process performance and still leaving the people, and that's another important aspect, the choice how they want to proceed in the development process and in their decision making. And that's what we are currently doing. We have some first interesting results on that, but it's not yet ready for publication, but it shortly will be. So, thank you very much for your attention for this presentation.